and I will have two co-presenters at some point. But yes, I'm Lizzie, and I will be talking about the tenant file with Ryan and James. And I think it's appropriate that we're following both the eviction court scraper and runoff rally because, well, I'll explain that soon. But basically, we're working to empower renters to collect and organize their housing-related evidence. Oops. Here's our crew as of late. We've been lucky to have some real consistency in who has joined us. And yes, we recognize there are a lot of celebrities who have been working on this project, and their time is so valuable. And these aren't their pictures, but they're celebrities nonetheless. And so the reason why it's appropriate that we're following the eviction court scraper is that this is also a BASTA affiliated project. So BASTA is working to help Austin renters work with their neighbors to improve conditions in their homes and communities. So building tenant associations and organizing for better conditions. And we've been working to build an application that's accessible, mobile first, and designed for the tenants that BASTA works with. And so what this means is that, well, I'll get to the next slide. The current workflow for gathering tenant evidence is pretty complicated. It takes a long time. BASTA works with primarily low-income tenants, and so they're working to transmit photos and encourage people to keep track of what's going on in there and where they live. And the current process really complicated, and this is how it relates to runoff rally. You know, taking a process that you would expect to be relatively simple, but is actually cumbersome, takes a long time, and prevents people from actually taking part, trying to make that a little bit easier. So our contribution here is that tenants can take a photo, text it to a number, and it ends up in their file. So the tenants have all of their housing related information in one place, and organizers who work with those tenants are able to access information as well, especially if that leads to a legal case. So I'm going to pass it on to Ryan and James, who are going to talk a little bit about the progress that we've made over the past year.
All right. Hey there. All right, so for the past year, a lot of our focus has been on back-end features and getting a lot of this core functionality working, like actually getting the images in from texting. We're not going to do a demo, but here are some screenshots that we have of various parts of it. This first one, obviously, is this is an example of texting it in, and this is actually our server responding with from the webhook that we're using from Twilio. And Twilio is the service we're using to get all of our texting information in there. And it calls the server that we're running in Google Cloud. But we can go on to the next one. And this is what our actual front end looks like right now when you actually get to our login screen. So we have implemented authentication and authorization for the whole thing because we will potentially handle some sensitive information once we're out of the development phase. And you can see a little bit of the style we have going on for the actual site. Let's go ahead and look at the dashboard for it. So this is what you'd be linked to immediately after you log into the site. And this is what we're calling the tenant dashboard right now. Eventually, we plan on having even more types of views that you could access it from. But for now, this is a list of tenants, and you can access some thumbnail images of what have been texted into the system for that tenant. And this is all powered by our backend and connected via GraphQL. So we have our database connection working. You can actually text in images. If I gave you the phone number, you could actually get it and you could text images to it and it would show up in the system right now and be accessible for the dashboard. And we recently got this filtering feature working as well for tenant names. And let's go on to the next slide. One other thing I want to call out, this isn't a direct feature of the system, but we spent a fair bit of time actually getting some DevOps working for the system because we want to make sure the development experience is kind of smooth. So when you put in a pull request to GitHub, it's automatically built and tested. And whenever that is successful and merged into master, it's automatically built and deployed to dev.tenantfile.org. I'll pass it off to James now.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Can everyone hear me? So this image here is of the sandbox we implemented to kind of experiment and show off some of the capabilities of our GraphQL endpoint that we've been using. So basically, this is an image of, we're looking at the images that the tenants have sent to us. We want to see what they were labeled as. So specifically look for something that contains a window label. So if there's damage to a window or something, and we know that the organizer wants to look at that specific image and not sure exactly whose it is, but they know basically what it is of. So we're able to filter directly to any image that matches that. So we're able to leverage some of the things from Google Cloud's platform to automatically get these labels. So we already send them off to the cloud, and we use the Vision API and their machine learning algorithms to automatically label and sort through images, passing through a number of filters that will kind of do some automatic content moderation for us. So we're making sure that it's getting used, the system's getting used appropriately. No one is kind of abusing it or sending us inappropriate images. And we're also implementing some optical character recognition. So if there is any text on the images that might be perceived as sensitive, we can kind of sequester anything that we think might be personal off to a separate bin, or just outright delete that if we think it's really going to be something that would be problematic for us. So yeah, just a bunch of the really exciting features that we got to implement in our backend so far. And that was it for me. I think it's back to Lizzie now.
Yes. So as you can see, we've been having a lot of fun. There's so much more to come, and a lot of that will be on the product side. Wireframing, front end pieces, and implementing some of our Twilio conversations, working with organizers and tenants to make sure everything fits the way their lives operate. And yeah, we're really grateful for the time that everyone's put in, and thanks for letting us share.
Anyone have any questions? Please put them in the chat. I see thundering applause.
Wow. Okay. Oh, also, I just realized I had a picture of Steve, but it's missing. It was Steve Jobs. Oh, it's because I did it in my personal deck and didn't transmit it. I'm so sorry, Steve.
That's
Lizzie,
exactly
it looks like you've got a question.
How to adapt for elsewhere use? That's a great question. I mean, I already see, so I work at Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, and BASTA is a project of Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. So I can see so many uses for this type of tool, where, because we're always like soliciting evidence from the folks that we work with. And it's always a process of like reminding people and getting them to email something and then moving this from that to there and blah, blah, blah. So I think, yeah, this like tech folks can also answer this, but I think there are a lot of opportunities to work with different populations that want to gather evidence that speaks to the experiences that they have.
Yeah, I can echo that. Technology is pretty flexible, so if it would be a matter of finding the right domain to apply it to.
All right. I think that's it. If you have any other questions, drop in the chat. Catch Lizzie after.
Oh,
Ask
Cindy
on
asked.
Slack.
Yeah. Oh, Cindy asked how people find out about it, and I think that so BASTA works with tenants pretty regularly and pretty closely. So at least to start out with, this will be something that they share with the folks they're already working with, and so we've talked about having a kind of a business card that you would hand out to while you're door knocking and say, all right, could you send me a picture of that leaky faucet? Send it to this number. and then we get them enrolled through the mobile platform. Oh, but I'll drop my email in the chat, and if anybody has other questions, you can reach out.
Cool.